friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade Not Hallmark. Today's card is a card that I'm going to show you how I got all of my little images lined up. It's a really simple technique, really simple way to get all of your images lined up perfectly so you can end up with a really beautiful card. This card is a standalone card. It could be used for any occasion. I just want to share how I actually created the little guide that's going to help me get all of my little cacti lined up and have some amazing coloring as well. So let's get into it. Today I am using the Prickly Friends stamp set from Pawsome Stamps. I absolutely love this set. I think it is so sweet and versatile. I've got a piece of Copic friendly cardstock here, and I have a little bit of a kind of sketch that I started out with. This was kind of my idea flow, and I'm using it as a guide to help me get everything else lined up. I'm just taking this 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card panel, and I'm kind of splitting it in half using a pencil with some nice light lines. I apologize if my head gets in the way. And then I'm also splitting it across the horizontal and the vertical, and then creating some more spaces as well. So I've got 6 intersections here on this card. And those intersections are going to help me get my cacti lined up perfectly. Now, it's not exactly perfect, and there's probably a better way of doing it. But this is the way that I decided to do it, and it really helped me out a lot getting everything lined up. I just took the stamps, and it works best with clear stamps because you can see through them. So I'm able to see through the stamp to the intersections that I have on my card base here so that I can get everything lined up. Now what I plan on doing is I'm going to stamp all of my images here. I'm just using some Simon Says Intense Black ink because it is Copic friendly, and my cardstock is Copic friendly as well, because I do plan on using my Copic markers a little bit later. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm going to color on this panel, and I'm also going to die cut on this panel. And this panel is kind of trimmed down to fit on top of my finished card base that I'm going to be using a little bit later. So it's already trimmed and ready to go to fit on my finished panel. So again, I'm just lining up those cacti, looking through the stamp itself to get it as centered as possible on my base here. Now again, there's probably a simpler way of doing this, but again, this is just the way that I did it, and it worked out really, really well. You can do this with any image. You can do this with smaller images. You can do this with larger images. Again, this is just a guide to help you get everything lined up. And I really recommend using some sort of stamp positioner because it can help you get, do multiple stamping, get everything lined up. So if you don't get a perfect stamp the first time around, you can, position it again and restamp it. Get my last 2 cacti lined up here and get those stamped down as well. I really like this stamp set. I love that you can add the faces if you choose, or you can leave them off. I really like that companies kind of decide whether or not you want to make it more cutesy or you can make it more realistic. Once I get that last cacti image stamped down, I hit it with my heat gun just because I stamped it twice. The ink can take a little bit longer to dry. Once it was all dry, I just took a pencil and erased all of my pencil lines. This isn't really a big deal in the end because this isn't my finished panel, but I wasn't 100% sure I was going to use a different panel until a little bit later. Once I had all those erased, I'm going to get right into the coloring. All of the colors will be listed along the screen. I'm going to put on some music, and once we're all finished, we'll come back and finish up together.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Maybe the birds will sing about your heart. Maybe the trees will whisper the word. Maybe the sun will spread your joy to the ones who lost their hope. Fill my head with roses. I can't help but everywhere. Maybe there is a star with your name. One thing I know is that there should be. There is no one who has a heart as pure, no, not like yours. Dreaming of you. 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 I'm dreaming of you. What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Dreaming of you. Dreaming of you. Dreaming of you.
Once I had all the coloring finished and I had everything die cut, I have a piece of Neenah Desert Storm cardstock here, cut to a finished panel size of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm taking some vintage photo distress ink and I'm just adding a little bit of interest and distressing around the edges of my panel here. I kind of wanted the background to look a little bit like it might be a sand ground, or in the desert or anything like that. I was just trying to get the effect of sand. Now again, you could totally leave this out and just go with a plain panel, but again, I wanted to add a little bit of interest and make it a little bit more fun. I also took that vintage photo and I wet it down with some water, and I got my paintbrush here and I did some splattering and some distressing, again just to kind of enhance the idea that this could possibly be sand, or it's just a distressed panel, again just to make it a little bit more interesting. You could totally leave this out, but I really like the effect that it gives. I'm going to set that panel off to the side to dry, and once it's all dry, I took a top folding A2 size card base and I did trim this down to have a little bit of a white border here, and thankfully I didn't trim it too much that my cacti still fit on here just fine. I got some liquid glue here and I'm going to attach that panel down. I really like attaching my main panels down with a liquid adhesive and then building up the dimension on top. Just it helps with keeping the card less bulky. Now again, it's an option you could do yourself later. Once that was all completed, I wanted to add a little bit of detail to my cacti just to make them a little bit more fun and interesting. I have got a number 10 white Jelly Roll pen here, and I'm just adding some of the spines on the cacti, adding a little highlight to the pots. Again, this is totally optional. You could leave this out if you're not into that. You could color them to look a little bit more realistic. I really like doing this on somewhat of a cartoonish image. Now again, these don't have the faces on them, so they don't really look cartoonish, but the style kind of suggests that. Going through and adding all those highlights to the pots and the little spines, and I just love how this rainbow pots turned out. They look so cute. Next, I took the panel that I die cut and I'm using it as my guide here, and I'm cutting slits on the guide so that I can line this up with my panel, attach my foam adhesive that I'm going to use. I'm just using some square scrapbook adhesives from scrapbook.com. I can't remember what it's called. What is it called? I think they're just square scrapbook adhesives. Yeah, scrapbook adhesives. Sorry. And I'm just lining those up on in the empty spaces so that I can take the cacti and align it right over top of where I die cut. And I know that they're all lined up perfectly because I used my grid and I aligned it. I got everything prepared ahead of time. Now, I probably should have taped it down before I started adding, you know, things. So just kind of tape your guide or your grid down so it doesn't shift on you. And I added the foam tape so I knew this is exactly where I needed them to be. So if it did shift a little bit, I was still okay. And then once I have those adhered down, I can peel away the grid away from those die cuts so that the grid doesn't get stuck on the sheet. So again, this is super simple. It's a great way to get your images lined up if you don't have, like, you know, a grid die or anything like that. If you have a ruler and a pencil, you can easily do this. Now, if you don't have the dies, you can still possibly do this. You can kind of trace around the image, or just kind of eyeball it. That's another option. So if you do have the dies, it works a lot better, but there you can do it without. Now here I'm gonna get my greeting stamped down, but I didn't get it on film. I don't know if my camera cut out or not, but I took a greeting from the Honeybee Inside Kindness stamp set and I stamped it down with some VersaFine ink, a nice sticky ink, and I heat embossed it with some Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder on some black cardstock. Again, you could use any greeting for this. You could turn this into a birthday card. You could turn it into a celebration card. You could turn it into any card that you like. I just wanted to keep it nice and simple because the focus was on showing you how to create a grid to help you get things lined up. Just using some Dori's 3M foam strips to attach my greeting here. And I love that this card is very open-ended. It could be used for anything. It could still be used for a birthday card. It could be used for a hey, just thinking of you, a thank you card, anything like that. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Nouveau glitter brush pen and add a little bit of shimmer to the cacti's flowers and to the greeting. And that will finish up my card for today. I really hope you enjoyed this somewhat simple card with a really great technique and guide on helping you get things lined up. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I can't wait to share with you the next ones. I'll see you again real soon. Bye!
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.